Shaun, this weekend slate though. There's some games tonight, but tomorrow, here's a huge thing. Break that whole thing down right now, Shaun. Go. I'm just fucking with you.
All right, we got Memphis Air Force. I've not watched either. Navy Air Force. What's that for the Commanders Cup or something? They play them.
I got UCLA beating Penn State. I got
shot.
I'm just fucking with you.
Yeah, no shot whatsoever.
Is Deshaun Foster on the hot seat today?
No, because they were competitive at LSU. They've been competitive in a couple games, so it's not like they're getting blown out. And it's his first year. It's his alma mater. He's gonna get a chance. You know what I mean? He'll get 3 years unless it starts to look bad.
Yeah.
I think the enemy might be on a hotter seat than Deshaun quicker if that offense start, putting up more points.
He's losing possible jobs too, Shaun. I'm just telling you, he's losing future opportunities. So I don't know. But the big games for this weekend, just real quick, as far as on the slate, where you at with like the big games that are going to be especially impactful? Does Michigan State have any shot at? The only reason I'd say Michigan State Oregon is an interesting watch because Jonathan Smith plays well and coaches well versus Oregon. Obviously, being at Oregon State for so long and beating Oregon in the rivalry just a few years ago. Michigan State have any shot at keeping that game tight?
I don't think so. I like that coach. Was it John Smith? I think is his name.
Yep.
Came from Oregon State. I think he's going to get Michigan State back to playing at a high level, but I don't think they're ready this year. And I think Oregon's about to hit like this stretch where they all put it together. Where they had a lot of new pieces early in the year. I think they were figuring some things out. I think they're getting more comfortable there. I think you're about to see them kind of start to spread their wings a little bit. I am kind of interested in in Iowa and Ohio State. That Caleb Johnson kid from Iowa, the running back, he's having a really, really good year. So this will be even the first semi-test for the Buckeyes, who came in. A lot of people thought with the best roster we've seen in a long time. And just because of scheduling, I'm going to say they've kind of flown under the radar. I still think their lack of elite quarterback play will bite them at some point, but this should be a pretty decent game. Can Ole Miss bounce back? Kentucky went to Oxford, kind of derailed a lot of the energy they had going on. South Carolina, surprisingly, has been in some really competitive games.
Beat Kentucky.
I think the upset alert game for me, at least, is Tennessee-Arkansas. I think Tennessee better be very careful this week going to Arkansas because Arkansas is a scrappy team. The old line coach down there, he playing for his job, and they're playing like it. So, to me, this is a game Tennessee better be very careful, and I would not be surprised if Miami loses outright to Cal.
Wait, rewind. You say what again?
Hey, man. 7:30 on the West Coast, Miami. You can't get a farther trip than Miami to damn Cal. Where's Cal at in California?
Northern Cali.
Cali
Berkeley.
To South Florida.
And they drove the truck. They drove the truck. The truck got there last night.
Geographically, there might not be two further places away.
Hey Shaun, why was it a brother driving that motherfucker from Miami? And he documented the whole thing. He's in Texas. This motherfucker drove 3,000 miles in a truck. And why did it have to be a brother, man?
Hey, they body clock's gonna be on 10:30 p.m. time because it's a 7:30 kick on the West Coast. I'm just telling you, this will be a tricky spot for the Canes.
Hey, if you're coaching college football right now in this realignment era, and you put these teams in you put Cal in the ACC, who just went to Florida State last week, right, or 2 weeks ago, and you got having to play Virginia and all this craziness, Stanford going to Clemson. Would you not treat it as an NFL style of schedule? Because if I'm Miami and Mario,
are you saying go a day early?
A day? Shit, I'd have went on fucking Tuesday.
So JB, as you know, the only problem with that in college is the amount of people you have to take. In the NFL, you only taking, 47 players, and,
Well, I'm talking about the team. I would only take the team, and I get and I don't want to hear one thing because I'm glad Shaun didn't even bring it up, and I know I'm going to hear the fucking nobody's in the chat. Well, what about class? Shut up. Shut up. Nobody worry about class no more. It's not college football no more. This is professional. Miss me with the class shit. So I would just take the team, Shaun, and get them acclimated because as I know, you don't just show up the day before and catch up 3 hours minus.
I think it's strictly a cost thing. That's a lot of people for 3-4 days. A lot of hotel rooms, a lot of food.
But the trucks are coming. I'd bring more people on those trucks than I would flying. I would just
ain't nobody getting on no damn in no car.
No, I don't mean in the back like fucking traffickers.
Oh.
I'm saying hold on, man. I'm saying
get out your JUCO hat.
I'm saying like fly the team out and the coaching staff, get it going, meetings, get a couple lifts in, get your practices going, acclimate the time, and then you bring your rest of your cats on Thursday, Friday. That's all I'm saying. All the equipment's coming. Now, I guess all the equipment wouldn't be there, so we weren't practicing in pads anyway.
Yeah, you'd have to have all the equipment staff. You'd have to have all the training staff. I mean, there's a lot of people, man, when the college moves. So I just think it's a cost thing. But I'm telling you, my top 2 games, for those that have been following me with the bet, I like Arkansas plus the points, and I like Cal plus the points. And I think both of those teams are live to win outright. If
Miami struggles in this game, we just saw a struggle last week after a Hail Mary, disaster avoided, then they're not a real contender. They got to go in and dominate Cal, in my opinion. And I don't care about the time change and all that other shit. I think they have to dominate this team or they're not going to be a serious contender. So I'm going to take Miami, but that's just me. Real quick, an interesting game is A&M Missouri. A&M winners of 4 in a row. Missouri's 4-0. Hasn't been impressive, Missouri, as they ended the season last year, though. It's in College Station. I think Missouri has a top 3 wide receiver in all of football.
Luther Burden.
Yeah. Where you at with that game?
Surprisingly, and I'm a big Connor Weigman fan, but he got injured, and this kid is filled in for him. I'm drawing a blank on his name. I think he's a freshman at A&M, the quarterback. He's been balling. I mean, So I think A&M is, anytime you got to go to Cal Field, man, you got to have your bootstraps, all the way on. That's a tough environment to go into. So I think this ends up being a competitive, tight game. I don't think we know a whole lot about this Missouri team. Yeah. I think we're still kind of finding out and figuring out where they are. Just for reference's sake, Arkansas is getting 13.5 and Cal is getting 10.5.
That's a tough Cal one, man. 10.5 to me is not enough. Like, that's scary.
A&M's actually favored.
I actually lean with you because 10.5 seems like, I don't know if Miami can win by 2 touchdowns.
By the way, A&M is favored by 2.5.
That's crazy.
This Saturday. They're 4-1. They're kind of riding the ship. Missouri's coming in undefeated, number 9 in the country, and they're a dog at A&M. That's how tough it is to play at Cal Field.
Let's talk about some real brass tacks. Let's talk about what you and I would probably be the only ones in this chat that understand and know, other than any coaches in here. Your biggest fear of letdown games this weekend. I'm going to throw these names out, and you just tell me. We'll go through each one real quick. Letdown game. Louisville just got beat in a hard one against Notre Dame. Can they bounce back with Jeff Brom against a rolling SMU team on offense? Not an easy game to bounce back from after a tough loss. Does Brom and Louisville bounce back?
Yeah, I'm not impressed with SMU. I watched them go to Nevada and be in a dogfight. I think they're very undisciplined. I think SMU is one of the teams that the NIL has hurt. I think they brought in some bad kids, talented but bad kids that lack discipline. And Brom does a good job. I think that in itself will be enough for Louisville to find a win.
All right.
Let me say this about, in my opinion, where sometimes we as coaches make mistakes. When you start the season, your goal should be conference championship, going undefeated. Like, I hate when you put too much emphasis on one game. You know, that's when your letdown spots come because you were chasing one weekend, not the season in its entirety.
Agree. I agree with that. A lot of people don't talk about that. Noel actually mentioned it on Wednesday. Noel Mazzoni was like, he said something similar. It happens in the NFL too. Nowadays in this NFL era, when a quarterback goes down, that's the mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, man, last night's game, Atlanta, we're going to break down after this college stuff. But last night's game, we're treating it like that was it's week 5. It wasn't a championship game, even though I think Atlanta's winning the South. I said it before the season. Tampa screwed that game up, but we're going to dive into that. Let me ask you, that's a good point. Let me ask you something real quick, though. Letdown games. You think Louisville bounce back? I'm in agreement with that. Georgia, any inclination at all they have a struggle against Auburn?
I think Georgia's kind of built the opposite way, especially because Carson Beck kind of played an uneven game. I wouldn't be surprised if they boat race Auburn this week.
All right. Ole Miss. South Carolina, who beat Kentucky, who just beat Ole Miss. I know that doesn't really matter in the thick of things. But Ole Miss, do they have a bounce-back game? Lane's notorious for blowing out teams after a loss. I could see this team a little different, though. South Carolina is pretty good on defense. Ole Miss minus 8.5 seems a bit much for me unless they're either going to boat race them, as I said yesterday, or it's going to be a South Carolina win late.
Yeah, the one thing I know about going down to Columbia, South Carolina, man, it's going to be a raucous environment. Now, say what you want about Beamer. He has galvanized the community of Columbia. They are supporting the Gamecocks. So I can see that being a competitive game, whether Ole Miss beat Kentucky or not. So I'm going to go with that's going to be a competitive. It's hard to play down there in Columbia.
We don't even need to ask about Alabama, Vandy. Vandy's better, but they're not.
No, Bama's on the high right now. Bama's rolling.
The board doesn't have letdowns either. Arkansas, Tennessee, you already picked that game. Arkansas Tennessee minus 13.5.
I'm taking Arkansas plus the points, and I think Arkansas got a shot to really sneak out a win here and mess up Tennessee's national title hopes, at least for the time being.
All right, Michigan, Washington. Very interesting one, in my opinion. Washington's favored by 1.5, which is ironic. It's at home, though, so I get it. But 41.5 seems a bit high for these two defenses.
Washington's playing who?
Michigan.
And they're favored?
By 1.5.
Wow. I would say this. Washington might be the most undisciplined team in Power 4 football. So I cannot, in good faith, lay points with them. But I'm not backing Michigan in that quarterback situation either. So
yeah, I agree. Damn, it's an interesting one right there.
USC
Minnesota. Does USC have they were down in Wisconsin by 10, come back and score, 38 and pull away, but got to go right back up to Minneapolis in that northern, getting a little cooler. It's going to be 70 degrees. I mean, it's not cool, but it's not going to be an issue, but it's 100 here, by the way. I'm just throwing that out there. It's been 100 degrees all week in Cali. Where I'm at. Where you at, SC Minnesota?
See, I think these are all tricky games for USC. Now, Minnesota doesn't have that bell cow running back they've had in the past. They kind of do it, committee, Marcus Major and Darius Taylor, but they don't got like that NFL caliber back. But, man, it's going to start getting cool. This is I think 7:30 kick in Minnesota as we get into October, and they're going to run the ball. And I think SC's interior run defense is awful. They might have the worst Mike linebacker in the Big Ten. Their number 4 is atrocious versus the run. So they're susceptible all of these road games against these Big Ten teams. After what Michigan did to them, man, they're gonna have to fasten their bootstraps and buckle their helmets because the blueprint is out.
Last one. Can Baylor shock Iowa State?
No, Iowa State's damn good. He's missed on a couple jobs after turning down a couple jobs, but he got him a good team. By the way, that's Anthony Beck's son. That's the quarterback at Iowa State. Remember Anthony Beck played tight end at Rutgers and for the Jets?
Yeah, he's a head coach in the USFL right now.
Yeah, that's his son.
Yeah, he's a good dude. I've known Anthony for a long time.